It's on almost every single form you fill out online. A simple, almost mindless choice from a drop-down menu. But what if I told you that this little box is part of a much bigger story? One that involves data, the law, and some pretty clever algorithmic guesswork. So picture this. You're trying to get a car insurance quote, and there it is again, that familiar list of titles. Mr., Mrs., Miss, Doctor. You probably just click one without a second thought. But have you ever stopped to wonder what information you've actually just handed over? And what are these insurance companies really doing with it? Well, here's where the story gets really interesting. Because the weird thing is, a major law was passed that you'd think should have made this whole question totally irrelevant. That's right. Back in 2012, the law changed. It became flat out illegal for insurers to price your policy based on whether you're a man or a woman, period. This completely changed the game. Insurers couldn't just use a simple direct factor like gender anymore. Instead, they had to start building a much more complicated risk profile for every single person. And that is the central mystery here. If they can't legally use your gender for pricing, why on earth would they ask for a title that so often reveals it? Well, it's because they aren't really looking for your gender. They're looking for something else entirely. And here it is. This is the real story. Your title is being used as something called a data proxy. It's basically a stand-in for other kinds of information. Think of a data proxy as a clue. It lets an algorithm make an educated guess about you without having to ask you direct and sometimes legally complicated questions. So, for example, an algorithm might see Mrs. and assume a risk profile that's often associated with being married. Miss might imply a single lifestyle. Doctor suggests a certain profession. See, it's not illegal gender pricing, it's pattern matching based on all the data linked to these titles over the years. Now, it's not all about secret algorithms and data intrigue. There are also some very practical and, frankly, kind of boring reasons they ask for your title. First up is just simple data validation. Your title is part of your official identity, right? So insurers use it to cross-reference your application with official databases, like the DVLA, just to make sure you are who you say you are. So beyond all the complex stuff, it really just boils down to two simple things: making sure your identity lines up with official records, and, well, being able to address you correctly and respectfully in letters and emails. But of course, the world isn't static. The idea of titles itself is evolving, which brings us to the modern landscape. The introduction of the title immix is a big deal because it offers a gender-neutral option. But here's the catch. Since these data models learn from historical information, it's taking them a while to figure out what patterns, if any, are associated with this newer title. The system is still catching up. This whole thing is just a perfect example of why understanding your data is so important. It's not just about what you're being asked, but why you're being asked it. That's a crucial skill in the world we live in today. So the next time you see that simple little drop-down menu, just pause for a second and think. What story is your data telling about you? And what conclusions are being drawn without you even realizing it?